The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question? And I listen more attentively.
Facebook is so slow.
Must have been something in all of that nothing.
There we go.
That wasn't quite so easy to see. And I must have missed something when you were just talking to me. I must have not been paying attention when you were busy slamming the door.
Murphy just looks so comfortable.
He has a very relaxed life.
I'm trying here.
We'll get there.
I think I got it. All right.
Yeah, we're 2 minutes late today, folks. It's Tom Neely.
All right, so no Papa Pies.
Yeah, no blah.
All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hi atop Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We've got a great show for you today. And you'll notice that I always say I have a great show, even when I don't have a great show. So it's up to you guys to email me and let me know if you think the show was great or if you think I was full of crap. But I do think we have a good show today. I want to thank our sponsors before we get there, though. If I can pull this up real quick. Who do we have? Who's our sponsors this week? We have McLennan Real Estate, Century 21, Lazy River Products, and Drake It, which I keep promising I'm going to get to, but this week I am going to because I'm out. Okay. So if you need cannabis products, you got to go to Lazy River Products. Actually, it's right there on the. That's pretty good timing. Marseille and Son Construction. EIS, Investigation and Gun Training. Borelli's Deli, where I'm going one way or the other after the show today because I need my hot sausages. Tomo and Shaken Seafood right here on Broadway, South Broadway in Salem, New Hampshire. Free shout out to Clear Path for Veterans New England. Also sponsoring the show today, AFC Urgent Care. And, of course, JG's Ice Cream, free shout out for them. And, of course, Pleasant Valley Landscaping, David Consoli. He likes it when you say it that way, too. You say Dave.
I don't think his mom does.
No, he doesn't.
No cookies for him.
No cookies.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm not saying it. I want the cookies.
So with me today, David Consoli from Pleasant Valley Landscaping. We've been talking the last couple of days about the trash situation in Methuen, and I've been getting a lot of calls over the last few weeks from people saying, why aren't you beating Perry up? Why aren't you beating up the city council? Look at this stupid trash thing. You're not going to believe how they're screwing us. And the reason I haven't written anything about it is because I really kind of stopped following the Methuen City Council. Like, I still kind of watch it once in a while. But after the way they treated me, it's like they don't really deserve the ink that I was giving them, so I kind of stopped covering them. But this seems to be a pretty big issue, so I said, I was talking to David Consoli, and he seemed to be all worked up about it. I said, well, you know what, then you're the guy to come on and educate me and my audience because I didn't follow it.
Yeah, it's the
big
issue.
thing.
Yeah, it's the big issue. A lot of people are unhappy, and for the record, I hate it.
Really?
Yeah, and my situation is unique. So my residence, I have a driveway that's a little shy of 600 feet long. So every week, my family or myself, whoever's taking out the trash that day, will put a few bags in the trunk, drive down the end of the driveway, put the bags out. If it's recycling, you put the bins in the. Mm-hmm. If you have the SUV, you put it in the SUV. If you have the car, you put it in the back seat of the car. These bins that they've passed out in the last couple of weeks are absolutely enormous. And I don't know how the heck I'm going to get that down the driveway, especially in the winter. It's almost 600 feet is the length of almost 2 football fields. So to put that in perspective, that's going to be a tough issue for me, in my residence. But the other people, everyone else is upset about the amount of trash they could throw away. And to them, I would say, well, you haven't been paying attention, like the podcast. You want to trash Mayor Perry, that's fine, that's your prerogative. But since Neil took office in 2019, he's been warning the residents of Methuen about this trash crisis. If you took the time to attend one of the trash seminars, or if you took the time to read the printed material that was sent out, the residents in Methuen would see that we have a major problem with trash. We are the top city in the entire state for tonnage per capita that we throw away. And if you've driven through the city, you'll see on the side of the road, and depending upon the section of the city, on trash day, people are throwing away mattresses, furniture, couches. There's all kinds of stuff like shelving, things of that nature. Someone on my street had a TV out there for a week, so they're throwing more than they really should. And, I would have preferred a little bit more enforcement. I'm not sure what the logistics would be on that.
Why are we here? Like before we get to what the new trash deal is, how did we get here? What was the problem with? I know that the old, the previous trash collector, there were a lot of complaints, there were a lot of problems. But how did we go from what we had to what the mayor and the city council just did? And by the way, for full disclosure, I'm not looking to trash Neil Perry. I was telling you what people were calling me saying.
I know you love him, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think he's a decent mayor. I just don't like him as a person. But I think he's a decent mayor, and I'm happy to give him credit if he did something good.
I know there's a personality conflict between the two of you. We've been down this road multiple times where I even sat here in my referee
when he said he wanted to come and
that was 11 months ago today.
Right. Oh, wow.
And you guys didn't hash things out, but personality aside, he is a phenomenal mayor, and he's a numbers guy. One of the reasons I personally voted for him was he's a businessman. So he inherits this problem, and in my opinion, I think the problem came from, this is before the Perry administration, the problem came when the city of Lawrence, Salem, New Hampshire, Haverhill, all the surrounding towns started implementing programs like this, limiting trash, because they were running into the same problems. So when those cities put those programs into effect, their numbers went down and Methuen's went up. So what does that tell you? That, I got a cousin
in Methuen. They were going to Methuen.
I got a cousin in Methuen. I have, a relative in Methuen. You're dropping, trash off at my aunt's house or whatever. Everybody was bringing their stuff to Methuen. And it's frustrating for me, too, sometimes. I'll go out on my section of town. I live on the west end near the Drake line. And my trash day is Monday. So I would go to work. I'd put my trash out, okay, and then I'd go to work. And on occasion, I'm like, darn it, I forgot something on my desk. I need a contract or a work order or something. In my haste to get out of the house, I forgot to bring it. So I'd run home. And at the curb, with the bags that I put out, somebody's dresser mirror, somebody's toys, part of a swimming pool one time, people throwing stuff right on the curb there. Yep. So I think it's true that they are dumping stuff in Methuen from surrounding communities. But we didn't get the message because this isn't, part of the reason why I'm here today is not only that you've been asking me to come on for several months, but when we started talking about this trash thing, the Facebook community page from Methuen and other places, they are destroying the city council and destroying Mayor Perry and complaining about, this trash thing, you've ruined our city. Have you been paying attention the last 3 years? You've been warned. If we could have corrected the problem in-house and brought our tonnage down and stopped this, I brought some stuff from one of the seminars that the city had. They had several of these, and if you look at the first, I got to put my glasses on. If you look at the first graph that Chrissy has up, it shows the red line shows the trash tonnage, how it went up during COVID, and how on the second graph, how it went down after COVID with the recycling. So, the trash tonnage is up 28% or 35%, whatever the number is, and recycling's down 5%. So there's a lot of stuff getting thrown in the trash in Methuen. And the other graph that she just put up shows in the red, Methuen is number 1 per capita in the entire state. The average household throws away 1.1 tons of trash a year, which equals 2,400 pounds a year. That's obscene. If you look at a city, and one of the ones that popped out to me is Medford. Medford's kind of like a Lawrence-type city. It's a little bit more urban, not suburban. So they're halfway through. They have a population of 19,500 people which is 5,000 people more than Methuen, because Methuen's at 14,741. I mean, I should say households, not population, excuse me. Okay, and their tonnage is 1,587, and ours is 2,408.
Wow.
It's 30%. So they have the same type program. So everybody complains about the cost of, well, I'm a taxpayer. Even my wife said to me the other day, "What's these bins? I'm not hiking those down the driveway." We pay $15,000 a year for our residents in Methuen. That's a lot of property taxes. Basically, we don't use the schools. We don't have our road plow because I'm on a state road, so I use the water service, police, fire if I need it, and trash is the big thing. But I'm a Catholic boy. I showed that with Dave Abdu that time. I'm a rule follower. We got what we deserved. We were warned to knock it off. I wish we went to a different system where we could have bought stickers. So basically you'd get, maybe, let's say, for instance, if we had 2 bags a week that we could throw out, you put a sticker on each bag, and then if you went over, you would have to pay whatever the number is, $5 a sticker, whatever. But I think Methuen was way behind on letting people throw away mattresses, furniture, appliances.
What does someone do, though, if they've got some appliances and some mattresses that they need to get rid of? What do you do?
Well, Methuen has the transfer station off of Huntington Ave. You could get someone to bring it there. You could go to Home Depot and rent a pickup truck for $19 or a U-Haul, whatever, and you go there as a resident. They put you on the scale, and if it's $20 to get rid of it, you get rid of it.
So you're paying to get rid of your trash no matter what now?
No, you're paying to get rid of bulk items. Okay? So, this is why, if you drive around the Merrimack Valley, even in Plastow, I was doing some work in Plastow the other day, and I was struck by the amount of self-storage places there are. Everyone's building these self-storage places. People have so much junk, they can't even fit it in their house, and these places are popping up like everywhere. I think they're building another one behind the old Walls Lincoln Mercury in Methuen.
It's a good first world problem.
Yeah, it's just people have a lot of stuff. So, and people like to throw away a lot of stuff. Every morning I get up, I'm up at 4:30 every morning. I put the news on because I got to watch the weather because it's my business. And they got those 1-800 junk commercials. Just point at it and we'll come and get it. And those businesses are booming because people have to throw away stuff. The housing market's on fire. Matt McLennan will tell you. They're moving. People are moving in. People are moving out. So what's happening? Everybody's throwing stuff out. That's just my opinion on it. Like I said, I'm not happy about it. But
so Methuen got here. Methuen got to where you are because people were abusing the bulk system, and it was taxing the trash companies who couldn't make any money. I'm assuming, right? Because there's too much stuff getting thrown out for what they're being paid.
There's a couple things. too. If my business used to be located in Ward Hill, and on the Ward Hill connector they have an incinerator plant, and I think in all of eastern Massachusetts there's only 7 incinerator plants. And if you see all that line of trash trucks every day, so for instance, let's say Methuen has an East End route, and the trash truck goes through the route, and people are throwing all this stuff in excess. They can't finish their route. So they stop what they're doing, they got to go dump it, and then they got to come back and finish their route. So as a business person, I understand that. You got to charge more.
Right.
So the trash is going up. So, I don't want to come on here sounding like I'm the Neil Perry defender. But
if he's right.
But
this is the thing.
He is right.
If he's right, then let's just call it that way.
Look at what this businessman did when he walked in here in 2019. He walked into that police contract mess. He walked into the Judy scandal, I call it, mess, okay?
Which never got solved, by the way.
Yeah, she should be in jail, in my opinion. But that's another story. But he walked into those 2 items. We were under receivership. Our oversight is it? We have the CAFO.
Yep.
We're under state oversight. And so to dig out of that, he started doing all these audits, DPW, police, whatever. And he started running this place like a business. And he knows the numbers. He's a numbers guy. And that's who I elected. I don't want to, the guy that everybody loves and is going to be nice to everybody and everybody's going to look.
Yeah, well, we certainly didn't get that.
No, I mean, you didn't get that. I find him very approachable. I don't know what the resolution would have been to stop this. I would have liked to see more enforcement. Like code enforcement going around saying, okay, you can only put this stuff in the trash. You can't be throwing all this stuff in. Chrissy, can you pull up that picture that they showed in one of the seminars?
I think one of the things that bothers...
So this is one of the photos that they gave us in one of the seminars. And if you zoom into that, that's just a typical route in different parts of the city. Now, that's not the multifamily Arlington district. That's some in the suburbs, some on the east end, some on the west end. And if you look at what people are throwing out there, I wish there would have been some pushback and saying, okay, we're not taking this, or send out, like, I don't know if it's, when I say code enforcement, I don't know if that's the health department's purview or if it's, some other inspectional service to say, okay, we're throwing that out. But I wish there could have been, and I might be talking out of school here because this is not my forte, but some protocol into place where the carrier would go out and say, no, we're taking X, Y, and Z. All this stuff gets left, and they keep going down the route and take what they had to take and leave the rest. People would have got the message really fast. If I want to throw out a chest of drawers. So we're at this point. I'm cleaning out my basement this weekend. Yeah. I got a bunch of old things that have, like, paintings and stuff that are down in the basement and stuff that have to be put in trash bags and thrown out. I'm not throwing furniture and microwaves and things of that nature out, but there is a few things that I will not be able to get rid of. So we're going to be, tearing up cardboard. My wife's we call her the recycle Nazi, because you can't put a bottle in the wrong place. She pulled, oh, no, I got to wash that out and put it in the recycling. So we're really good. Yeah. And from what I understand from these numbers, recycling costs a lot less to do than it does for trash. There's been nationally, news reports have said that 9% of what you put in recycling is actually recycled. Right. Okay, so I think that's turned off a lot of people. However,
I always thought the recycling thing was a big scam to begin with anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just a regular guy.
Right.
But if that is true, maybe it turned off the public to recycle and say, you know what, I'm doing all this work, I'm separating everything, I'm washing it, I'm putting in the recycling.
Getting no benefit.
And I'm getting no benefit. However, if you still did it, you're saving your city a ton of money, and your taxes are going to stay the same. So from what I understand in these things, this is the first step to not to make our taxes go up.
If I could reference that photo for a moment. So in where I'm from in Australia, we would call that sort of trash called hard waste. I don't know if it's the same here.
Similar.
So we have twice a year, basically, you get a free hard trash pickup. Each household is given this by their local council. So you can actually call them, you book in your date, and then they will come and they give you, like, there are certain parameters. You can't throw away certain things. But that way, you have a date where you can put that trash out, but they are dedicated specifically to pick that trash up, and that way it's not affecting our everyday trash.
In Lawrence, we used to call it bulk pickup day, and I think it was like every other month, maybe on a Friday or something. Like, they had a designated day that wasn't trash day, where they would pick up bulk items, mattresses, TVs, whatever.
Do you know does Methuen have something like this? Or?
Excuse me, that's my son saying, do you want me to pick up extra trash bins? You can't. Excuse me.
That's all right. It's like when I interviewed Marcos Devers for his, all of a sudden he took his phone, he started texting people in the middle of the interview. I'm like, Marcos, you do realize we're live,
well,
right?
I think this one's time sensitive. He's over there trying to
buy bins.
This kid thinks that if we get an extra bin, they're actually going to take it. And this is what's going on.
Right.
Everybody's freaking out because they think that it's like the one bin. I do want another bin. And my needs are different from the average person. I think the average person wants more barrels to throw out more trash.
Right.
For me, I want an extra bin for a different reason. I'm going to produce the same amount of trash that I've been producing since I built that house 15 years ago, or 17 years ago. Wow, time's flying. But I want to split it. I don't want my wife lifting this heavy thing to throw it in the car to get it down the driveway. If it's half the weight, she could put two of them in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my need, but it's $100 a year for an extra bin.
I think my problem with all of this, and this is I'm a pretty conservative guy, but I do have some liberal leanings, and this is one of them. If we're paying taxes, we shouldn't have to pay for firefighters. We shouldn't have to pay for trash. We shouldn't have to pay for police. Those are basic municipal services that taxes should pay, and the public should never have to pay for that. I mean, we are the richest country in the world. And again, I know this makes me sound like a liberal because I do have very few liberal leanings, but this is one of them. To make people pay for trash when they're already paying taxes, to me, it just kind of slaps of double dipping on the part of the government. The government's got millions and millions of dollars they can tap into in all kinds of different funds, whether it's Methuen, Lawrence, wherever. They've got slush funds, community development funds, they've got grants. There's a way that the city could make up for it so that the public doesn't have to pay for extra. And the fact that they didn't do that is what. And I knew nothing about this coming into today, but listening to you.
So the government.
That bothers me.
The city of Methuen's not asking us to pay for trash. They're telling us, the data shows, the graphs that we brought here. The data shows that all these communities are doing this. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the average household should produce X amount of tonnage per year. And we're not, it's not that Methuen's a little off. It's not that Methuen's 20% off. We're not even freaking close.
Right.
We're, per capita, there's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. We're number one.
Wow.
Okay, per capita in tonnage that's thrown away. So, Tom, this isn't something that, it's just a little problem. Mm-hmm. So this is forced down our throat, and it's by... it's our own fault. I mean, I'm going to put myself included because I'm a resident. We've been warned for the last 3 years. Knock it off because this is causing a problem. Mm-hmm. If you want to put in the police contract, I think walking into this in 2019, that police contract, everybody was freaking out about that, and then that got resolved. And I don't even think half of the city's aware that arbitration cost the city $700,000 to resolve that, and we got it back.
Good.
I
saw that meeting.
They made them pay it back.
Yeah. Well, they offered. Superior officers came in and offered.
Of course they did. After what they put the city through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're on the right path.
I just don't think people should have to pay for municipal services. If you're paying tax, even if you're not paying tax, if you're an elderly person who's renting, you shouldn't have to be burdened with, oh my God, if I have an extra bag of trash, I have to pay for it.
So they do give you overflow. Again.
Because then what happens if you can't afford it? They don't throw that trash out. It sits in their house until the next week, till they can throw it out. You know what I'm saying? And that builds up maybe a hoarding situation. I don't think I get where Methuen is, but it seems to me like the city council and the mayor, whatever you think of them, should have found a way, whether it's community development money, grant money, slush funds. I know he just said that they're $5 million in the black. That they want to pay off the
yes.
They want to pay off the state debt and get rid of the capital. That's all good stuff. But if you've got $5 million left over and you're paying $2.5 million back to the state, how about take $1 million of that, kick it into the trash fund so that the average person doesn't have to pay for extra bags?
Okay, so if we go under that premise, it's still not going to stop everybody bringing stuff in and throwing more and more in. Okay, so I guess the problem. And listen, I prefaced my statements at the opening by saying, I hate this.
Right.
I'm not a fan of this system.
Right.
I'm not happy with it. Okay? We do deserve it. So I think the mindset, and I'm not agreeing with it, but the mindset was if we put one container per household, single-family household, and 2 per multifamily, whatever, they're going to pick up that container with that arm, and anything else is going to get left there. Mm-hmm. So that's going to stop the people from bringing stuff in.
Will it, or will they just dump it anyway, and it's going to sit there?
But I think
it's going to make the neighborhoods look like shit. It's going to make the neighborhoods look like the Arlington district.
I hope you're wrong. But with the advent, one of the things that I've noticed in my business too, I mean, is people use their Ring cameras, their Nest doorbells, or whatever, and they know when my people are on their property servicing them. Mm-hmm. So people have cameras everywhere. I'm hoping, and I'm not well versed on this, but I think Methuen's gravitating to Lawrence's program where they're going to put up cameras all over the city.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on it.
That's the libertarian in me.
I don't have an opinion on it either way. Yeah. But maybe if there is large scale dumping going on, then maybe they can rewind the cameras and find out who the offenders. But I think this is totally this program is to stop the other stuff coming in. Mm-hmm. It has to stop. I mean, I hate it myself, but how else do you control it?
There's got to be another way.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm not a genius at trash, but there's got to be another way. I mean, the city could just pay for it.
I mentioned stickers.
Yep.
Where did I get this idea? I have one of my favorite uncles lived in Needham for many, many, many years. And I remember as far back as, the mid-'90s, I'd go visit my Uncle Albert. I love that guy. And I'd say, Uncle Albert, what's these stickers on your bags? And he would say, even back then, we got to pay $5 a bag, right? And a lot of communities have been paying, and Needham's a pretty wealthy community. So I was hopeful that we could get some type of, decal that we could go on, so then I could put a trash bag in my trunk and put another one in my trunk, and then if there's something that's not going to leak, I could put it in my back seat and get it to the curb. Because to me, it's all about my situation. I can't deal with that driveway.
Right.
And in the winter, if we have a snow event, like on a Monday or something, Sunday, and I'm out working, I'll give the driveway a quickie and I'll go to bed, and then my poor wife is left dealing with the trash. I could see her out there with these huge things trying to get it out of a snowbank. So I don't know. I don't have the answer, but we got exactly what they deserve. So anybody wants to comment online and give us their feedback.
When I posted that this was going to be the topic, we did get one comment from a Lawrence resident. He uses Scott Punk. That's not his real name, but he's somebody a lot of people know, so he uses a fake name. He says, welcome to Lawrence, because I was talking about how we're going to do it for Methuen. Apparently, Lawrence just did this. He says, welcome to Lawrence. We've been doing this for several years with the blue trash bins. If you need overflow bags, they cost about $11 for 5 bags, so it was cheaper for my family to get another trash bin, which cost $140 every year. So I guess you're leasing the bin? You're not even buying the bin for $140 a year?
No,
you're leasing.
the bin's free. The bins are free if you want an additional one. So let's say you have a family of 4 in your house. You get one bin, one thing. So let's say my parents are elderly. They're going to come and live with me. So now I got 6 people in the house. So I would apply for another bin, and it's $100 a year.
All right.
So
in Lawrence, it's $140. So they're soaking Lawrence. He says, "This is Lawrence. Looks like Methuen will have their prices be about the same as Lawrence. For those of you in Methuen, welcome to your new trash pickup. It's the in the beginning, you will find yourself stepping and squishing every trash bag you put in the bin to get them all to fit. After weeks of doing that, you will finally get sick of doing all that and buy the second bin, which is what they want. Any bag not in the bin, they will not take. It is an overflow bag that you have to buy. Have fun because it sucks." And I got maybe 25 comments just like that when the new trash bin first
I'm
hit.
not well versed on the overflow bag, but it's like $5 or whatever it is. Again, I'm not thrilled with it either, but what's the solution? They have been asking, I think the guy's name is Joe Cosgrove.
I know Joe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know him, but Joe Cosgrove is the guy that came up with the study and did all the legwork on this. It seems like a nice enough guy.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
I watched one of his shows on MCTV, and he was explaining this, and I'm like, oh, God, I hope this doesn't come to fruition. But he's dead on. And I mean, everybody's focused on, my trash, this and that, but we got to right the ship. Whether you love Neil Perry, whether you hate him, whether you love this city council, whether you hate them, we're moving in the right direction. Do you remember what our bond rating was?
That was horrible.
It was like a 4 or a 5, and we're up almost to a 1 now.
I know. Neil brought it up.
So the bond rating, people, and the average citizen in Methuen doesn't even know what our bond rating is,
right,
and how important it is.
Right.
So we're paying off the $2.5 million for that overrun. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can get rid of the oversight from the state. And that's just another step. This is another step in the right direction. However, it's close. It's a step that's right at your front door.
Right,
it's close to home, and no one's happy about it. Yeah. So
now, I will say that we need to give, if we're going to give Neil Perry credit for this, which he deserves, we should also give Ali Safi, because
she's
Ali,
great.
Your district councilor in the West, Ali Safi, whom, by the way, I really like. We don't talk about her that much because she's not one of the grandstanders that sits at that council. From day one, the trash issue was her number one issue. Even with the first time she ran, trash was her number one issue. She set up a committee, a trash talk committee, and they had all kinds of meetings with the public. And I think she deserves a little bit of, in fact, a lot of credit.
Yeah, she's done a great job. It's hard to follow. I don't watch a lot of city council meetings.
They're tough to get through.
Yeah, because there's a lot of discord. There's a lot of grandstanding. Whether you like or dislike Councilor Saber. There's a lot of talking, and Jessica, who I think means well, she just drags on a long time with her comments. Mm-hmm. But I love Eunice Ziegler. I hope someday she runs for mayor. I think she's...
Eunice would be a great mayor.
Yeah, I don't agree with a lot of her politics. She's a little left for me. I'm a Republican.
It's all the Black Lives Matter stuff. If you remove that, she'd be a great mayor.
She's an amazing person.
Yes, she is.
And
she's a nice person.
She's a nice person, and Eunice conducts herself the way I want someone representing me to conduct themselves.
Right.
Okay? And I think everybody means well, but it's hard to sit through all that. So when I don't know what Allison Safi's doing. She pretty much does her work. She comes to the city council meeting. She does her work.
And she doesn't pat herself on the back.
Yeah.
And she never calls me and says, hey, guess what I did today? Can you write a story, as some other councilors do? And I kind of almost wish she would, because she actually does do work.
And then someone's throwing a salvo at Mayor Perry. Mayor Perry salvoing back. And it's just going, back and forth. And after that, you just throw your hands up and you don't finish the meeting. But I'm hoping that they all agree that we need to get that bond rating back up to, 1. A1, what do they call it? A1? 1?
A plus 1,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, A1, I think we're at.
Double A plus.
Yeah, we're at A1 now from A4.
Right.
So that's.
And what most people don't know is the bond rating, the reason why the bond rating is important is because that determines what your interest rate is going to be if you borrow money.
Correct.
So if something happens and a school catches fire tomorrow, and they've got to build a new school, and they've got to kick in local money, and they've got to borrow. Obviously, they can't just come up with $30 million, $130 million out of it. They have to borrow money. The amount of money that the city's going to pay back, the interest rate, is going to be determined by what your bond rating is.
Correct.
And so that makes it, so the better the bond rating, the more stuff the city can get done, any city.
And the average citizen doesn't understand that. They're like, what about me? What about me? What about me? One of my beefs at my commercial building is we need road improvements. I have been in Pat Bauer's ear for 2 years now, and he's been holding me at arm's length. And come to find out, they have this new project going up at the end of the street, and the city engineer and Pat Bauer, the DPW director, worked in those road improvements for the people who are building this monster warehouse or whatever. So I'm going to get the improvements that we need as a construction company on that street, because the traffic is there and the street's narrow, and the city's not going to have to foot the bill. So I guess they're a little smarter than I am, because I've been like, hey, when are we going to get this done? And they're like, we're working on it, So they know what they're doing. You just have to put a little trust, and you have to have a little patience. But again, I wish there was some kind of exemption where I could buy stickers and put bags for the end of my driveway. But those photos are
I just wish people didn't have to pay for trash when they're already paying taxes. That's my big thing. It just seems like the city should be able to find a way for basic municipal services, schools, police, fire, trash. People shouldn't have to. Guys like you pay how much? How much do you pay in taxes a year?
To Methuen?
Property taxes.
It depends on commercial. I pay a lot.
I think you said like 15 to 16,000, something like that.
15,000 for my residents. There's more from my pet peeve is the excise tax. I think I have anywhere between 14 and 18 vehicles registered in Methuen.
So you get killed.
Yeah, and my problem is if you drive around the city, there's other businesses that are in Methuen, and they're all registered in New Hampshire, and there's no enforcement, and that goes right up my backside. Like, come on, guys, I'm doing the right thing. I'm always trying to do the right thing, and I'm going to do the right thing by this trash thing. And I'm like I said, I'm a rule follower.
See, but if the city followed the broken windows theory, right? If they took care of things like that, like landscapers in Methuen who are registering their vehicles in New Hampshire, if they cracked down on that, there'd be plenty of money to pay for trash.
But I don't want to defend the city either. But, one of the guys I want to mention is Bill DePardo from Inspectional Services.
Good guy.
Billy's a good guy. He helped me out.
I knew his dad really well.
He helped me out on a couple issues I had. I call him, very responsive, return back. But every time I saw Mr. DePardo trying to help me with a complaint, the guy was freaking buried. His workload, they couldn't keep up with anything. So I'm going under the assumption that all departments are stretched. You know how many complaints I hear from just average people doing stuff around the city? They're always complaining about the building inspector's office. And I get it. They're probably shorthanded. They're probably overwhelmed. I've had good experiences with them. But, people's expectations, we live in a drive-through society. Everybody wants to snap their fingers.
Right.
And I want service now. Right. But, we're moving in the right direction. I'm tired of watching your podcast trashing my city because you don't like the city council or you don't like my mayor.
Well, I don't trash the city. I don't trash the city. And I've even said it 3 times today. Whether I like Neil or not, you give him credit where credit is due. Whether I like the city councilors or not, you give them credit where credit is due. Even Steve Saber, if he does something good, we'll give him credit where credit is due. But people can't seem to overlook the fact that I don't like some of these people. It's always got to get thrown into the conversation.
Yeah, I wish the council would get past this, this salvo throwing back and forth. If Steve Saber's a numbers guy and he ends up being our next mayor or
God help us all.
Well, whatever, Eunice or whatever. I hope they're business people and can run it and keep this trajectory that we're on, because we were in a really bad place.
Yeah.
When Mayor Zanni left.
Yeah.
So
everyone's running for mayor next year. Everybody.
What do you mean everybody?
DJ Beauregard's going to run. Jessica's going to run. I'm pretty sure Eunice is probably going to run. Who will probably be my favorite candidate, depending on who else
There's
gets
no
in.
Republicans. They're all Democrats.
Yeah, like if Jana Dina Talley jumped in, obviously I would not only campaign for her, but I would run her campaign. Or Jana Zanni Pesci. If Jana Zanni Pesci ran, I would support her. But you're going to have at least 5 to 8 candidates or more in that primary, and it's going to really come down to next year who's got the biggest base.
Yeah, and they're all Democrats. I mean, I like to start my own political party.
There's no conservatives in Methuen at all.
I'd like to start my own political party called CSI, Common Sense Independence, because, when Dave Garofalo just walked through here and said his guy lost in New Hampshire, that was Chuck Morse. Mm-hmm. He's the Republican that wanted to go up against Maggie Hassan, and he's kind of somewhat moderate Republican, and he just lost the primary to a right-wing, hardcore Trump guy.
Right.
He's going to get smoked by...
I don't know. Not in New Hampshire.
We'll see. But he's going to get smoked by Maggie Hassan because she's the incumbent, okay? She hasn't done a terrible job, but it's always far left or far right. Moderates never make it.
Yep.
They never make it. And like I said before, that's where all the smart decisions are made.
Right.
We got Maura Healey and Jeff Deal.
Right. It's the same thing.
Okay?
Right.
Jeff Deal, they keep saying Trump, 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 Trump.
Right.
He's toast.
I agree with that in Mass, because Mass, it's a communist state. I mean, they don't vote for Republicans unless you're a Republican who campaigns like a Democrat, like Charlie Baker, right? Charlie Baker's with us conservatives maybe 40% of the time.
Yeah,
that's why he won. But Jeff's not there, and I think in New Hampshire, I think that and what's his name, General, the guy that
Don
won
Bulldog.
last night, Don Bulldog. I still think he has a shot. I think there's a lot of people who don't care that Trump is with him, who aren't triggered by Trump in New Hampshire, moderates and conservatives. I think he's at least got a shot. Maggie Hassan's done a horrible job.
Yeah, but Donald Trump...
She's no Jean Shaheen.
Donald Trump needs to go away. I mean, it's enough is enough.
In a perfect world, he would step aside and let the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, run, and he would back Ron DeSantis, and Ron would be a great president. But unfortunately, I think Trump's going to run, and it's going to be back where we started.
I'm frustrated because I love this country like anyone else, but I just think moderates. I'd like to vote for a moderate Democrat. I'd like to vote for a moderate Republican.
Yeah, there aren't many out
I'd
there.
like to cross party lines, but this woke crap that's going on, and then you got the hard right on the other side. It's so divisive and it's so polarizing. Is that the word I want to use? Polarizing on each end.
Right.
You just can't get anything done.
Well, it's hard to negotiate with somebody and work with someone when they're on TV calling you Hitler every day, right? Like if you're a right-wing conservative, how do you sit down with a Nancy Pelosi when she's on TV calling you Hitler, right?
Yeah.
So when you've got the far right and the far left, it makes it impossible to get anything done. But is that a bad thing? Because to me, the less government does, the better. Whenever I see that a bipartisan bill comes out, I get scared. When Democrats and Republicans at the federal, at the state level, it's different. At the federal level, if the Republicans and the Democrats are agreeing on something, I get very worried. I get really worried because they're not passing moderate legislation; they're all just selling each other.
How do we get from trash talk to the to the national level?
We got a minute left.
Yeah.
Were you happy with the primary elections last week?
I pulled a Republican ballot.
You did?
They kind of gave me the Republican, when I went to the polls. And then they couldn't find me on the rolls. And I said to the woman, do you want my ID? She said, we can't ask for it.
Oh, isn't that outrageous?
So don't get me started on that. What do you mean? She said, you can offer it, but we can't ask for it.
Right.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to show my ID for stupid. My son, Joseph, had a $2.30 credit that he put under my name at Home Depot. I had to show my driver's license to cash in $2.30 when I was buying some nuts and bolts.
Well, they always say voter ID is racist, but drive through Lawrence on payday, and you see all of those very poor, very dark-skinned people standing outside liquor stores, nightclubs, all with their IDs.
Yeah, I don't know what the thought process is behind that.
Well,
but
they want more fraud. That's why the Democrats are against voter ID. They want more fraud because it benefits them.
Yeah. So I don't know if Maura Healey comes and looks at my trash cans and says I'm gonna change that for you, then maybe she'll get my vote.
If Maura Healey wins,
other than that,
if Maura Healey wins, I'm 2 years away from moving to New Hampshire.
You know, you're not the only person that's told me that. A lot of people have said one of the big things that they're talking about, and sorry, Chrissy, but one of the big things they're talking about is this California mandate where you have to all go to electric vehicles by 2035.
It's insane.
And you've seen with the wildfires and other things going on out there that the grid is overwhelmed and that they're prohibiting people from charging their cars at all. All along, there was counties in Southern California that didn't allow you to charge your cars during the daytime. You had to do it overnight. Massachusetts is following suit, where it's all got to be electric cars. They're hoping by 2050 or whatever in electric equipment by 2035. The MBTA spent $80 million on electric buses and then found out in year one that when the temperature's below 30 degrees, they only run for 2 hours. Because it's so cold, the batteries can't handle it.
That's what happens when you govern based on fantasy. When you govern based on fantasy, global warming. Listen, global warming is 3,000 years away. Let's deal with the problems in the country now.
So I'll tell you what. As much as I love Methuen, and I'm always coming on here saying my hometown, I like my mayor, I like my city council. I like my community. If they ram electric cars, electric trucks, electric lawnmowers, all this stuff down my throat, I will be living next door to you in New Hampshire because I'm done. I'm sorry, I am.
I hung in as long as I possibly could in Massachusetts. But if Maura Healey wins, and I'm pretty sure she's going to win, I think I'm done. I mean, I live in what I think is the greatest town in the country. I live in North Andover, Massachusetts. I live in North Andover. I love North Andover. But North Andover has taken a far left turn. And they're doing all the same stupid shit that all the other liberal left-wing...
Maybe you should pick on North Andover instead of my mayor.
I have. Didn't we just do a whole show on North Andover a couple weeks ago? Yeah.
Instead of my mayor, my city council.
Listen, I ripped on the board. I made a board of selectmen resign.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I must have missed that show.
The guy was living in Algonquin, sold his house in North Andover, kept showing up at board meetings, and he was on the planning board in Algonquin, Maine.
Oh.
So,
all right. Well, thank you for having me for Trash Talk, Chrissy.
Appreciate you being here, and we want to thank Ali Safi, too, for coming up with the Trash Talk stuff. And she's done a great job. You can't take it away from her, that's for sure. She works hard, and she's not a grandstander. Let's thank Borelli's Deli, Shaken Seafood, AFC Urgent Care, Pleasant Valley Landscaping, JG's Ice Cream, McLennan Real Estate, and Lazy River Products. Don't forget EIS Investigation Gun Training and Marcian and Stunt Construction. Thank you, Chrissy.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.